Our speaker today is Mike, and we are going to hear about some photography and some social media use and some photography on the Zoom, right?
Yes.
Excellent. Take it away.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. So before I start, I actually just want to do a survey. First app that you guys check when you wake up, is it, who raise your hand if it's email? How about if it's Facebook? Really? Only Mindy? How about Instagram? Okay. LinkedIn? Okay. So what I want to talk about more is kind of the best practices on these platforms. What they all are, whether it's a new name tomorrow for some app that someone's creating in Silicon Valley, it's going to change the world. They're all just new ways for us to get content. Whether that's a fun photo, whether that's something informative about your business or about them, but all these are just different ways for you to access information. So what you need to do is consider where your customer may be, to put as much content on those platforms so you can reach them as many times as possible throughout the day. Personally, I am a Reddit and then Facebook in the morning, and then I will check it a couple times throughout the day. And so that's the importance of having multiple things on there, because your customers are most likely going to be looking at their platforms 3 to 10 times a day. If they have nothing going on, they may spend an hour there, they may get to the bowels of the internet, but that's why it's important for you to at least have some information on there. Now, what kind of stuff you should actually put on there varies about the different platforms. Facebook, people are going to look mostly for entertaining stuff because just mindlessly scrolling through, so they want to stop maybe 5 to 10 seconds, whether it's a picture or a video, but you only have that brief amount of time to get their attention. So bad quality phone pictures, they can work to an extent, but we have all seen people that do their Facebook Lives and they're just unbearable to watch. They may have really good information, but if it just looks terrible, it's really hard to watch. So in that regard, just best practices for photography and video. The reason I'm standing next to this window is because the light source is going to be the best. Any kind of photo or video you take, light, you're really just capturing the light. If I were to be standing in front of the video, I would be in a shadow, or in front of the window, I'd be in a shadow, so you wouldn't be able to see me. However, here, it's reflecting on my face and it's lighting me up. So that's one tip. If you're ever going to take any selfies or any videos, be cognizant of your light source. And then audio. That's another really difficult thing with video that so many people do. Just because it's on your phone, it's going to be really hard to actually take a really feeling. So if you can have an external microphone to be able to pick it up, this is going to cause a little more editing after the fact, but you're still going to sound like you're talking directly to someone, and it's not going to hear everyone's with their plates clicking with the forks and whatever everything's going on. So light, audio, that'll help you get the best images. Now those images, they need to be creative. I don't know if you guys have heard of McDonald's, but they spend a lot of money to make their hamburgers look good. They have a makeup department, they have like 20 people to just flip the burger, to make sure the sizzle's perfect. It's a hard thing to make McDonald's look good. And so you need a whole team. So that the creative aspect about any kind of content is just, it's tough. But the tips that I mentioned, those are obviously best practices to use to try and get it. Now, with Facebook, we like humor. A lot of times informative information, if it's easy to digest and maybe an infographic, then maybe someone will respond to that. Larry's descriptive bio pitch, I mean, that something like that. If you see an image of a man smelling his couch, I mean, just that says it. He doesn't need to say anything. If you see the upholstery cleaning underneath, you know, I mean, that tells the story in just an image. And that's what you need to think about with your images, that they may read a little bit of your copy, but that image is really going to be the sale. And The copy, maybe it'll be 1 to 2 sentences because it needs to emphasize what that picture is saying.
But just don't give him any more ideas. I'm going to do that now.
Actually, I want you to take it, and I'd like to know how it works, because I think it would be a good thing. One thing, too, about the social platforms, and Wayne was mentioning it, is that the power of Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, all these things, if you do it natively in the platform, that makes it easier for people to share your information. So whether it's an informative thing, like that would be informative, but that's also funny. So people, if they're on the toilet, they're looking, oh my gosh, that's hilarious. So they'll share it, and that's what you really want to do on any of these platforms. If you're providing some kind of information, you just want it to try and spread like wildfire. So everyone talks about viral videos, viral images. I mean, so how do you do that? You need to be funny, and you need to be informative. And then that's where the hope is that people may actually share it for you. So Facebook best practices: short, concise videos. If you're going to do it, they don't need to hear about your bio right up front. They don't need to know, hey, this is Mike, I'm from Ballbearing Creative. They want to know what you're trying to accomplish, what you're trying to tell them. So if I would start the video, I would say, the one thing you need to do is pay attention to your light source. Like, just give the information. Instead of hiding the lead, you want to make that the front of your copy, the front of whatever your informative thing is. That, you may lose them after the 7 seconds. So just focus on those first couple minutes or first couple seconds. Make it as informative as possible, and then add your fluff at the end and see how long people last. Business pages. Does everyone have a Facebook business page? So those are a great way. The way I use those is, a lot of times if I get someone's card, I'll either Google them, and then I'll see whatever the Facebook business page is up top, or I'll even just search into Facebook. So this content that you're posting, maybe you only get 3 likes the first time, but you're also creating a catalog of information for people to view, for the next customer to view. And that's really important to think about your content. There's a lot of timely stuff that you can do to be relevant with, like Game of Thrones or Avengers or whatever thing is popping in the news. But you also want to make sure that, like, in a couple months when someone views it, because that's how you need to think. It does have a lifetime. You are creating stuff for weeks, months down the road. You want to make sure that it's helpful for people then, too. So again, when they go to your Facebook page, they'll be like, this guy hasn't done anything in 3 years. Are they still a business? So, once a month, once every couple weeks, whatever is your cycle that you need to do. But that's why it's important to continue to put information on there. And again, it will live. So that's why you want it to be good. Instagram became one of these things. I mean, Facebook, if you guys didn't know this, Facebook owns Instagram. They were just on it years ago when it just became this, because there was Flickr, there's SmugMug, there's all these other photo sharing sites, but something about Instagram just made it so easy, and they just saw the users piling into there, which is why Facebook bought into that early. And so now that's where a lot of the younger generation is going. So if you're trying to reach people in their late teens, early 30s, and now, I mean, I know my mom and my aunts, like a lot of older people have starting to found their way onto Instagram. And so figuring out your demographics too is where you're going to be putting your content. Facebook, it's got a wider range. You're not going to necessarily reach some of the younger people, but their parents. If you're talking to the young people's parents, then you can target to those parents or their grandparents. And I think jumping around, that's probably the most important thing to think about with your content, is how are you helping your customer? No one really wants to know about your feelings, but they want to know how you can help them solve X problem that you solve. So for me, it would be these video tips. How can you make better videos? Well, make sure you have audio, make sure you have good lighting, keep them concise, put your lead in the front. Those kind of things are what's important on the platform. Hire a professional. It's the easiest way. So again, Instagram is more the demographic. So that's what a lot of these different platforms become, where certain demographics just ends up hanging out. Snapchat was hot for a minute. They rejected the Facebook buyout. Facebook ate their lunch, basically. Took every special feature that Snapchat had and just put it on Instagram and Facebook, and then everyone just got off of Snapchat. So that's why it's important to just be aware of what else is out there. Twitter for a while was losing its just user base, and then our president decided that's a way that he's going to communicate directly with people. And so now everyone gets on Twitter because they want to follow him and see what he's saying, and then that just helped raise the platform. So you don't know what kind of weird black swan events are going to happen to maybe resuscitate something back to life, but that's why it's important to know what's going on in the different platforms. YouTube, which is owned by Google, YouTube is the second biggest search engine. That's huge. So Google is 1, YouTube is 2. What Google does, if you're going to type a question into Google, a lot of times Google actually prioritizes a YouTube video at the top. So the answer of your question is that top video. Not only that, there's a starting point at 45 seconds into that video where that question is specifically answered. So that's through Google. That's how they combine, and that's what the kind of stuff that you want to think about that you're putting onto YouTube. A lot of the videos that I find, I use it for Photoshop and Premiere, and say, how do I do this? These videos were made 3 years ago. It's got 400,000 views, whatever, but these things live. And if you're answering a relevant question then and now, that's where you have a better chance to become more of a thought leader. Back in the day, it was always about books. You write a book to become the thought leader in your subject. It's still the case, but we're visual. We're always, so if you could put something on YouTube, if you could put something on Facebook that helps you become the thought leader in that subject, that's how you want to utilize these platforms. Food pictures are good. Sometimes you've got to understand what we like to see the food, but it's also good to be informative as far as a business sense, so people know subtly what you're doing. So for me, I think it's interesting to do, people do vlogs where they talk to the camera. I think it's more interesting to make travel videos that are well done, because I think the power of video is that it can transport you anywhere while you're just watching it. So that's what I think is relevant to me. I probably have 10 things that I can say that'll be informative, and I'll be like, okay, you said the same thing. But if I can transform you and show some good compositions, so some cool, just new experiences, I think that's where, as a video person, I can try and transport people into somewhere fun. So that's Google to YouTube. Twitter, is anyone on Twitter?
You gotta watch your enemies.
Yeah. Well said. So what these other platforms too, I don't know if anyone has a physical space, but for Facebook and Instagram, a lot of people, you can actually tag the location. So whether you're only in Northbrook and Deerfield, you can search for people that are posting in the area, and then you can, if it's informative, or if they're having a question, you can comment. If someone's showing their bathroom, they're in Northbrook, you can say, well, have you thought about quartz? If they're going through a remodel and they're having some struggles. If you're a restaurant, people are going to be tagging you that you're there. So one of the ways to at least provide some value to them is comment on their photo of your food, and then that way someone has a story. I gave a talk last week in Nan Sathers, and I tagged the location, and they just commented on the photo, like something cool, thanks for sharing. But that's just helpful. They're not trying to sell me on anything, but they just appreciate that someone's sharing that they were at the place. And so looking at hashtags, looking at locations, again, depending if you're brick and mortar or not, those are the kind of things that you want to look for. So I am running out of time, but
just real quick, tell us please your experience, how you got into the SBAC, and what it's meant for you. And I happen to know that you are the official photographer for the golf outing again.
Thank you.
But besides that, what's your experience been? Highs, lows, good, bad?
And the SBAC or business for myself? It's been good. I met a lot of great connections, and that's, I think when I first started networking, I thought I needed to sell immediately, and then I realized I found some mentors, and they were to help me, guide me, would say, no, find your power partners, find people you can collaborate with. And once I tried finding those, I found them. And so I've been able to find a lot of, what I like about networking is they're some of the most motivated people that you're gonna find. Everyone that's gonna get out of their comfort zone to come and have lunch with strangers is motivated as hell. And so and great. So I'm very grateful I met you at a morning breakfast, and come check it out.
But it's been a good run for you.
It's been great. Yeah. So yeah, Michael Rattay, Ballbrain Creative. Anything from a simple promo video, if you just want something for your site, that you host it on YouTube, you embed the code onto your site, or if you want some continual content, I'm trying to get involved with more of the subscription service where we sit down every month, every other month, so you can have some higher quality videos that you can post on all your social platforms. So, thank you. Thanks for listening.